Tanzania is reeling from days of deadly unrest following this week's disputed elections, with the opposition claiming that at least 700 people have been killed nationwide, and the United Nations confirming credible reports of at least 10 deaths in 3 major cities. With the government insisting it is restoring order after what it calls isolated incidents, Kenya now finds itself acting as a buffer, tightening security at the Namanga border to stop the violence from spilling further across East Africa. Now, with fear rising and freedom shrinking, Tanzania faces its most perilous moment in years, a test not just of power, but of democracy itself. NTV's Ashley Atieno has the details.
The aftermath of Tanzania's general election has turned deadly. What began as protests over a disrupted vote has spiraled into some of the country's worst unrest in years. In city after city, from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro and Shinyanga, anger has exploded over, with Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, saying the death toll is far higher than officials admit. Party spokesperson John Kitoka claims more than 700 people have been killed since Wednesday, citing reports from health workers and eyewitnesses across the country. Meanwhile, the United Nations says it has confirmed at least 10 deaths, urging restraint from both security forces and protesters.
We are alarmed by the deaths and injuries that have occurred in the ongoing election-related protests in Tanzania. Credible reports we have received indicate that at least 10 people were killed in Dar es Salaam, Shinyanga, and Morogoro as the security forces used firearms and tear gas to disperse protesters.
Curfews now blanket Dar es Salaam, and government offices have been touched. Internet access remains severely disrupted. The government insists these are isolated breaches of peace and says order will soon be restored. But on the streets, normal feels far away. At the Namanga border, the unrest has spilled into Kenya, where chaos erupted Thursday as protesters clashed with police and trade routes ground to a halt.
Our officers are competent enough to deal with any situations. If there will be any inconveniences in terms of movement of cargo and people, I believe that the officers at our points of entry and exit must be able to advise those who are moving in a manner that then we don't endanger anyone's life.
But as Kenya tightens security, anger continues to simmer. Mombasa-based activists are now demanding the release of Kenyan journalist Juma Shoka, who was arrested by Tanzanian authorities at the Horohoro border while documenting human rights abuses.
Waliomshika ni maafisa ambao walijitambulisha, manake walikuwa wamevaa plain clothes kutoka Tanzania. Tunakemea vikali kushikwa kwake na tunataka awachwe haraka iwezekanavyo.
Na vile mambo yalivyo Tanzania, sijui utamfanyaje. Sasa tuna appeal tu kama Kenya inaweza haraka na ili aachiliwe. Maana tunahofia usalama wake.
Meanwhile, the European Parliament has denounced Tanzania's election as a fraud, saying it unfolded under repression, intimidation and fear. As the Electoral Commission continues to release results showing President Suluhu in commanding leads, the scene on Tanzanian streets tell a far different story, one of shattered trust, rising anger and fading hope. Ashley Atieno, NTV.
All right, welcome back again. Now, still focusing on the post-election unrest in Tanzania, and how it could affect Samia Suluhu Hassan alongside with the risks she might be able to face if she doesn't be careful. What do we know right now? Following the general election in 29th October 2025, large-scale protests erupted in Tanzania, particularly in major cities such as Dar es Salaam and Mwanza, over allegations that the elections were neither free nor fair. The protests were met with heavy security response, curfews, internet blockouts, army police deployment, and many other things. According to the main opposition party, Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo, it's called Chadema, that is being led by the one Tundu Lissu. The death toll around 700 people. That is just the number of deaths, rough number of deaths. Of course, there are many others who have not actually been counted and been known. So it's about 1,000 people and above who have been killed by the police officers. However, independent confirmation is lacking. Okay, for example, Amnesty International reported at least 2 deaths on election day, and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR, said at least 10 deaths according to the credible sources. Okay, the government has denied responsibility of any large-scale killings and said the security measures are temporary but necessary. Okay, so what does this mean really for President Samia Suluhu Hassan? Because she is an incumbent and her party, Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM, has been in power for decades, the unrest and the alleged deaths carry significant implications, and this is what she really needs to know. If she's not very careful, she might end up falling into a pit that no one can be able to extract her from. Number 1, we have domestic legitimacy risk. If large numbers of citizens believe the elections were unfair and the government used excessive force, the Hassan's mandate may be questioned by the Tanzanians, and that is very certain. The narrative of one candidate election or suppressed opposition could undermine her perceived legitimacy. That is one risk. Risk number 2, yeah. That is what it means for President Samia Suluhu Hassan. Number 2, international pressure and reputable damage. International human rights bodies, UN, Amnesty, are calling for investigations right now with an immediate effect. Sanctions, reduced foreign aid, or diplomatic isolation. Okay, Hassan personally could be targeted international scrutiny, travel bans, access, and freezes depending on how events unfold. Number 1, yesterday Samia Suluhu Hassan wanted to flee from Tanzania to Kenya, but it was difficult for him. I think it's because the international the UN Amnesty or the international human rights bodies, they have decided this woman must remain in Tanzania. But again, the people also knew that the president wanted to escape Tanzania to Kenya, and they decided to block him by going to the airports and making sure there is no flight that will take off from the airport. So Samia Suluhu Hassan is still in Tanzania as we're talking right now, and the people have said she's not going anywhere until she solves the problems that are in Tanzania right now with an immediate effect. Okay, Hassan personally could be targeted internationally, you know, and that one is really dangerous. Political risks with Tanzania. International dissent. The protests might galvanize the opposition forces even if weak now, and could lead to instability, fracturing, and party unity or power struggles inside CCM. Okay, security forces and local officials may become emboldened or uncontrollable, generating further chaos, and this one is very dangerous. If the government appears unable to restore calm or is seen as responsible for mass deaths, there might be calls for transition arrangements, resignation, or new elections. Number 1, either Suluhu Hassan resigns, or number 2, either there should be transitions or transition arrangements, or number 4, new elections to be held in Tanzania with an immediate effect. Okay, and I bet if new elections were to be held today, Samia Suluhu Hassan can even be banned from running or from becoming the president or from being even in the ballot. Okay. Number 4, we have legal accountability risk. Under legal accountability risk, we have investigation. If investigations occur either domestically or internationally, individuals in the chain of command could face accountability for exercising use of force, and as head of state, Hassan might face political consequences, even if not legal ones. Okay, because military have power, and when military have power, they have all the opportunities, they have all the authority to make sure they stabilize the country in case the country is in chaos, or in case there is a state what is it called, state risks. The military will take over. If they take over, that is the end of Samia Suluhu Hassan. So as she's doing her things, she must be very careful. Should she be worried? Yes, she must be worried so much. She should be very concerned for several reasons. Number one, even if the full truth of 700 deaths remain unverified, the perception of massive killings is damaging. Perception matters in politics and diplomacy. That is one thing she needs to know. Number two, the government's silence or inability to provide transparent information is already feeding narratives of cover-up. It's feeding narratives of cover-up already. Number three, domestic unrest could escalate. Economic disruption, internal blackout, curfews undermines business confidence, social stability, and the government's stability to govern effectively. Okay? Number four, international partners might respond with pressure. Even if Tanzania avoids full on sanctions, access to favorable deals or loans could be affected. For Hassan personally, being associated with a major human rights crisis can tarnish an otherwise historic role. She is the first female Tanzanian president and reduce her future options, regional international roles, and legacy. That means if she goes down today, she will never appear in any international seat, any international office, not only locally in Tanzania, but globally around the world and even in Africa at large. What options can she pursue to mitigate the risks? Transparency and acknowledgement. Promptly commission on an independent investigation into deaths and use of force. Public commit to accountability. This can help restore trust. Number two, dialogue with opposition and civil society. Engage in immediate talks to address grievances, possibly offer reforms, electoral media freedom to rebuild legitimacy. The problem is the opposition does not even want to talk to her. They don't even want to have any talks with her because she has really made them go through difficult time in Tanzania. Number three, communication strategy. Address the public candidly, restore internet access, lift broad curfews, allow media coverage, demonstrating willingness to open up. That is number three. Number four, international engagement. Invite international observers, cooperate with the UN human rights bodies, show willingness to comply with international norms. That is the only thing she needs to do right now. Number five, managing security forces. Ensure that military police act under clear legal oversight and disciplinary measures for unlawful actions and indeed implemented. Okay? In conclusion, in sum, the reported high death toll in the post-election protests in Tanzania represents a major challenge to President Samia Suluhu Hassan's political standing, both domestically and internationally. While the figures of 700 deaths are still disputed, the situation in already serious a government perceived and a heavy-handed beside legitimacy and political for a broader crisis. She should indeed be worried, though she also has a window of opportunity to respond in a way that could salvage much of her authorities and perhaps even enhance her reputation by doing the right thing. She has all the power, she has all the mandate, she can do it. It is her to sit down and decide what to do. That is the only thing she needs to do right now. Okay? Otherwise, in Tanzania, crisis still continues. Demonstrations entered the fourth day. People are still saying no to Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM, which has been to power for decades. We don't know what they're going to do, but they have to do something. Otherwise, if Samia Suluhu Hassan does not do something, because right now the deaths are being recorded, right now there is no media that has been accepted to cover what is happening in Tanzania, which is very bad. Therefore, she needs to change. She has time still. She can still do it better. She needs to change. Otherwise, if she doesn't, it's going to be trouble. It's going to be problem. Tell me what you think on the comment section. Until next episode of the same, peace be with you.